Hello, everybody. We're going to give it one more minute for people to join, and then we're going to get started. Okay, we're going to kick off. We got some more people joining us, but we're going to get started here. So welcome everybody to the 2026 July rate case part 2 of our webinar series, our rate case webinar series. We are covering a lot of information, stuff that has changed, as well as a recap of what hasn't, just to confirm everything with you guys. So this webinar itself is presented by Adam Kester, our product director at BCC Software. For those of you who are familiar, you probably know him very well. We're also joined with Kendra Van Gundy as well as Rosine Gray from our support team, who will be fielding some questions that get submitted. Just a real quick plug before we dive in. I just wanted to emphasize that Information Exchange 2026 is coming up this August. The virtual conference, which runs from August 4th through August 7th, there are 16 sessions, lots of content. It's jam-packed with content this year. And we've chosen to do a virtual as well as a live conference this year to try and spread out the content and make it a lot more accessible for everybody. So if you have any questions or if you're interested in attending, please visit the link bccsoftware.com/IE26. You can read all the information we have detailed out there for all the different sessions that we're offering. You can either purchase tickets to the individual ones or an all-access ticket to all 16. And then our live conference kicks off the following week, August 11th through August 13th in Nashville. Again, very exclusive event, but we have a lot of content planned for that session as well. So give it a read, visit our website, give it a read through all the details for all the different sessions that we have planned, and we hope to see you there. It's going to be really, really, it's going to be really innovative. It's going to be really jam-packed. So we're excited. And Adam will be there. Kendra will be there. So people, the BCC people you know very well will all be there. All right, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the webinar itself, I just want to remind everybody, we are going to be sending out a rate case digest. You might have seen the one from July of last year as well as the one from January of this year. It is a digital magazine summary of all the priority items that you need to be aware of for rate case. And it's kind of a boilerplate, if you will, of everything that you need to be paying attention to. It's going to include summary items from both webinars. So if you weren't able to attend or if you had to drop off early, you make sure to keep an eye out for that rate case digest. We're looking to send that out before the end of June, and that will be kind of the last checkpoint prior to the rate case hit in the beginning of July. This webinar is recorded, and we will be sending the recording as well as the Q&A summary to all attendees. So keep a lookout for that email. That will probably be sent out early next week. And then just a little maintenance. All attendees are muted. Cameras are off. Please enter your questions in Q&A if possible. But we are monitoring both chat and Q&A, the chat and Q&A sections of this webinar for those submitted questions. So we want this to be as dynamic as possible. Now's your chance to get live answers to as many questions as we can reach within the given webinar timeframe. Before we dive in, I want to submit a quick poll for everybody. So I'm gonna pop up the poll, and while I do, I just want to emphasize there were some priority concerns from everybody during the last webinar in May, and we did our best to recap those answers for everybody. But we want to get we want to gauge where everyone's at, and we want to get another gauge for where you're at with regard to your concerns for rate case. We're going to launch this up for you guys. And when you have a chance, please submit. I'll give it a couple of seconds. I'll give it like a 30 to 60 seconds for everybody to submit their answers. We got 58 responses here. A lot of ADC consideration. You see that, Adam?
I do see that. I am not surprised.
We got over 200 people with us today, so I'm gonna give it another few seconds for the last batch of responses to come in. We're at 150. Yeah, ADC is a big one. $154. All right, I think we got a good ratio here, Adam. I'm gonna hit done on this. So as it's very clear from the poll, about 55% of you have concerns regarding the ADC removal. This was the number one point of concern in the May webinar. And so we have a number of slides to recap the ADC removal details for you. And Adam's going to be going over that shortly. All right, Adam, take it away.
All right, thanks, Brandon. So like Brandon said, please keep those questions coming in. We do have a lot of time designated to just answer as much as we can, especially if you ask questions in the first round of the webinar and you saw the FAQ document and you have follow-up questions, please get those in. I'd love to be able to address those for you guys. And like Brandon said, there's the Q&A function. For me, that's at the top of my Teams window. It's right next to the chat button. Chat is also there. It will be monitored, but it's also going to be just a little bit easier to track for us if you use the Q&A. Susan, I saw your message pop up there. Yes, the part 1 is available, and I believe we've got a link for that in here, and I believe we've sent that link out as well. And so if you are missing that recording, we will make sure we get that out to you. So just a quick overview on our agenda for today. We're going to cover really high level the things that haven't changed. We're going to cover a couple of things that have changed as well since we did our webinar in May. We're going to dive into a few of the things that we know are specific concerns for folks, especially knowing the response that we got on the questions and in the survey last time, and seeing the survey this time. We're going to cover a little bit more depth. We've got another example, and we'll talk through some of the implications of the ADC removal, what that will bring. We'll cover the changes that are coming again for the pre-sort data structure changes and the 2027 promotions. We'll recap very quickly the dates that you will need to know between now and the rate case implementation, as well as the software targets. We're looking at a couple of weeks, then we'll give you our best guess based on where we are in our development processes for each of those software products that you probably care about coming to our webinar, and then we'll jump right into the Q&A session. So what has been unchanged since May? And thankfully the answer, especially for us doing software development, the answer is not much on the technical side. Pretty much everything on the technical level has remained the same. No major changes have come about as a result of conversations and what the USPS has been solidifying over the last couple of weeks, as well as what the PRC has turned around in response. So right in front of you, you see the list of topics that we covered last time on the part 1. We're not going to cover each of these in depth today because we did cover them all in part 1 and they haven't changed drastically since then. But if you do have questions about anything on this list, please get them in the Q&A and we will cover them. All right, so what has been updated since then? The major thing is that we've got approval for both the market dominant rates and structural changes, as well as the competitive rates and structural changes. That means all of the rates that were proposed by the USPS, as well as the changes to the structure of those rates. The PRC did their thorough review of those. They checked their math and they checked to make sure that the USPS was well within its legal range to approve those rates, and they have all been approved. That includes all the rate structure changes that we talked about last time. That means that we've now got final postage statements as what they will look like when July 12th hits us. And we also have the final rate files as they exist on Postal Explorer. The HTML version of Notice 123 that has all those rates as we go through while those rates are live, those will be published in the next couple of weeks. as well as the PDF version of Notice 123. We're also fairly sure that the DMM, with all of its updates, will be available either on July 12th or very shortly thereafter, so we don't have to be jumping between the FRN that was submitted by the post office and the formal DMM that exists. The other thing that is worth noting here that I know we get a lot of questions about is that we got the updated industry alert from the USPS about how and when your PVDS mailings need to be submitted by. And the major thing that's going to be there is any mailings that are using the current rates need to be submitted, verified, and paid prior to that July 11th date. And then they need to be submitted into the USPS or inducted into the USPS system prior to July 27th to maintain the current rates. There's always questions that we have about, well, we have a mailing spanning that July 12th date or whatever that rollover date is. How do we deal with that and make sure that everything's paid prior and you can get everything inducted by the 27th, and that should just work. If you have questions or you're not sure how that will work with you, there is a link in the link that's on the screen there, and that will be in our post follow-up documentation here for the MSSC, where you can submit questions to the post office on certain scenarios that may not be covered by the general announcement. All right, so we're going to dive right into a recap and a few additional examples on what we had for the ADC removal. So a couple reminders if you were with us last time, and new information if you weren't. Both the preparation and the rates for ADC and AADC will be removed. If the sortation level ADC existed for a certain class, shape, processing category of mail, if it had an ADC and it's getting removed, an SCF level will be added for sortation if it wasn't already there. The three-digit scheme and SCF preparation or sortation levels all are getting consolidated into a single rate category that is the three-digit price. Right, and that's probably where the most of our questions came from. We've got an example at the end that shows kind of the difference between what we looked at before with the rates and what we're looking at now with the rates. And we've got one that we'll recap very shortly. Hopefully we can make that as clear as we can for you folks. But again, if there's still confusion, please ask your questions in the chat. And then the other notable thing about these changes is that the origin SCF levels that used to exist in pallets and trays and sacks are also getting removed. There is still an SCF level for all of those things, and that SCF level does have an exception on it that if you're dropping that mail to your origin facility, then there's no minimum on those containers, but they are just considered to be regular old SCF containers. You just don't have to have a certain number of pieces to bring them to your origin. All right, here's the example that we used last time. Again, just hopefully to give you kind of a picture of where things are going and where they were before. For our current sortation levels for marketing mail, automated bundled flats, you have a sortation levels of 5-digit scheme, 5-digit pre-sort, 3-digit scheme, 3-digit pre-sort, ADC, and mixed ADC, right? And then again, those 5-digit sortations get the 5-digit price, the 3-digit sortations get the 3-digit price, your ADC mail gets ADC price, and your mixed ADC gets a mixed ADC price. How that's changing as we move forward is that those 5-digit sorts will still get that 5-digit rate. Your 3-digit sorts will still get the 3-digit rate, but added into that 3-digit rate is now the SCF sortation, right? And as the USPS has been working over the last few years, they've been working to consolidate and really line up the ADC and SCF networks. So if the sortations for ADC were being used for a shape class of mail that you are doing today, those sortations should not change a lot. What will change and be probably very notable to you is that there's no longer an ADC price or equivalent to it. All that mail that would have been in an ADC and is probably now getting sorted to an SCF level. Obviously, there's a lot of factors there of where it gets sorted, but a good chunk of that mail should go to your SCF levels. All that will get that 3-digit price. And then that mixed price, that mixed ADC level is also gone and replaced with a much more generic and standardized mixed level, and that will get a mixed price. And here we've done a comparison, and this is the additional example I want to show folks, right? These are the rate categories and rate structures for a couple of the marketing mail letters examples. On the top, we've got automation letters, right? Again, we've got the 5-digit AADC and mixed AADC at the top in our current structure. You could get a DSCF discount on those if you were drop shipping or drop ship them or enter them at your origin facility. But in the future, we're going to a 5-digit, 3-digit, and mixed. And now it's important to note that those automation levels still do the automation sortation for letters does not have a 3-digit sortation. It just has a SCF sortation, right? So that SCF sortation will get that 3-digit rate. So we're going from 5-digit scheme, 5-digit AADC and mixed AADC to 5-digit scheme, 5-digit SCF and mixed. And then the 5-digit will get the 5-digit rate, your SCF will get the 3-digit, and your mixed will get the mixed. We've got a similar story in the non-automation, non-machinable letters down there, except in that one we started with 4 rate levels and we're losing one completely, right? So we lost, or we had the 5-digit, the 3-digit, the AADC, and the mixed ADC, and we're going to a 5-digit, 3-digit, and mixed. That example still has sortation for both 3-digit and SCF, and both those levels will get that 3-digit level. And again, I know this is not the most intuitive thing, unfortunately, right? So ask your questions in the chat and we'll get it cleared up as we can. And then this is just a recap again, kind of combined with all that ADC removal, anything that was a mixed and had a specific label after it. So the mixed ADC, the origin mixed ADC, the mixed NDC, all of those are now going to a mixed level that if you look at like the labels and the OELs, that is called mixed working. For the labels, we've got MXD WKG as the abbreviation there. So you'll see that abbreviation in places that you used to have something that said mixed and a origin facility or an origin processing facility. So we are now additionally eliminating the origin mixed ADC surface and mixed ADC air distinction that we had in, I believe, mostly in first class mail. That was based on label list 201. As we'll see later, the label list 201 is no longer used for sortation. It is going to stick around for folks that want to reference it and know what the post office is doing, whether they're sending mail via surface or via air after it's been inducted. But the sortation of submitting that mail no longer needs to separate those things prior to putting it into the USPS network. Additionally, the residual single piece pallets will be labeled as mixed working in addition. All right, and then we also had a couple of questions about heavy printed matter, a lot of interest in that. I put all of the basic requirements for qualifying for heavy printed matter in this slide and in the next one. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but they're all there and the reference is there if you want to go look in the FRN yourself to see what other information that you need to have spelled out for you for HPM. But there's a couple that I want to call out and we mentioned them last time. The major ones here are the restrictions on what kind of things can be shipped via HPM and how big those pieces can be. So if we look at number 2 there's where we get our no fulfillment, right? So if a customer has specifically ordered a product, it cannot go through marketing mail. It must be for marketing mail purposes as defined in number 1. It can't weigh any more than 15 pounds. And I think based on that rate structure, that's pretty clear from when we're looking at what the prices of these things will be, but it goes all the way from 1 pound all the way up to 15 pounds. It has to exceed the standards of a flat, right? So if it's not a flat, it can go HPM. And again, the goal there is to move that thing out of some of the other places and give the marketing mail content much more easy to swallow, perhaps marketing mail rates. It can be prepared as a catalog and it will qualify for the catalog incentive. Again, remember that catalog promotion is going away, but the catalog incentive is coming back. If it qualifies for the standards of the catalog, it can get that discount. And then a couple other things to call out here. Again, in number 6 is the restriction on books and other non-eligible matter that needs to be shipped via media mail, library mail, Ground Advantage, or other services that the post office supports. And then these are technically parcels, and they will require to have the IMPB on them. All right. Couple reminders on the post-July changes. This one got a lot of conversation as well last time, in that the label lists that the software uses and are probably used as reference by a lot of folks are significantly changing in the coming months. The label list 004, 009, 010, 015, 601, 602, and 605 will all be removed with the published November 1st data. That means that'll be effective the December dates. The last published date of data will be October 1st for those label lists. Anything that's being shipped or sorted via these lists for our software will be already transferred over. So if you're just using these lists via BCC Software's products, then there's no concern. You shouldn't have to worry about these dates. But if you're using these things in-house, make sure you've got an eye on those dates for when those changes will happen. Label list 201, as I noted before, will stick around as a reference purely for those folks who need to know what the mail is being shipped after it's entered at the mixed level, if it's going via surface or via the air network, and then the changes in the mail direction file to support the full removal of ADC and the NDC destination entry facilities will be happening with the published July 1st, right? So that's in 12 days, the data that comes out on that day, and the August effective data. Again, if you're using BCC software products and that's the only place you're looking at these things, the software will be handling this. If you're looking them up on FAST or in the data itself, pay attention to those dates when those changes will be happening. All right, and then the promotions, just to call those out again, because now they are officially approved. We're still waiting for the post office to put out their regular PDFs that really get into some of the guidance and details about what can go and what qualifies for any of these promotions. But just to call these out again, so you're watching for those. That direct mail discovery, that'll give you a pretty major discount, 40% on your first 5,000 pieces in a mailing, up to 100,000 pieces total for a new mailer. Again, a new mailer is someone who has not mailed in the last 2 years or has not ever mailed, and that's the mail owner that would be doing that. Not the MSP, but there's also a MSP. So if you're working with that mailer, if you find a new source of mail to put into the stream, there's also a 5% rebate to the MSPs who are facilitating the new mail coming into the mail stream. The impact messaging is one that we are anxiously waiting what will qualify for that as a promotion content. It's going to be very interesting to see what they put out as examples. The ones that I've heard are things that just encourage more mail to go into the mail stream. So whether that's on a business reply kind of a piece, if you're advocating that the customer uses reply through the mail rather than going to a website, that could qualify, and potentially any other kind of messaging that says the more you mail, the better kind of a message. There's also an additional tier that we're waiting for details around what qualifies, what doesn't for the tactile, sensory, and incentive promotion. The standard promotion will get you a 3% discount, and that complex tier will get you a 5% discount. Again, waiting for specifics from the post office. That one starts pretty early in the year, so we want to make sure that that one is well understood by everybody to make sure that you're getting your right budgets in place and whether or not you'd qualify for that one as you move forward. Again, just to remind everybody, the removal of the continuous contact promotion and the catalog insights promotion for 2027. Those guys are both gone. The catalog insight being that pretty major one for catalogs at the 10% is being not quite replaced, but the catalog incentive that's coming back is a much smaller discount, but still exists. And it will exist for things that didn't qualify for the catalog insights promotion as well. Okay, Brandon, there we go. All right, just one more quick reminder on the post office's dates for their go live. Postal One will go live with those, the support for the new mailing dates with the new rates on June 28th. So if you have mail.dats or mail.xml that can be submitted with the new rules with a mailing date post that July 12th date, you can start submitting them as soon as June 28th. Those rates will go into effect. like we talked about with the PBDS mailing. So anything submitted with a mailing date post July 12th or after July 12th will get those new rates and those new sortation rules. And then, as we noted before, that both the market dominant and competitive filings have been approved. That means the rates won't be changing, but there's very likely still going to be cleanup and questions that come out as a result of some of the sortation rules as the DMM gets published, and BCC and other vendors work with the post office to make sure that those rules continue to make sense and that they're things that can be implemented across the board. It's very possible things will continue to change, and we will respond to those as quickly as we can, but keep an eye on releases to make sure that we're getting you the most up-to-date information. And then our second most asked question is, when will the software itself be released? These are targets, just to remind everybody that we're still in active development on everything. We are shooting for the week of July 6th for Bulk Mailer, Architect Reach, which we lost our Reach label on there, the DAT Mail and Postal Web families, and the Mail Manager family. It is not impossible that some of those could go earlier, but we are targeting to get those out as soon as development is stable. And in some cases, when the July published data is released, they'll come out with the release itself, for example, with the bulk mailer products. The BCC Presort product is targeting next week. That one is still finalizing some testing and needs to go through install testing as well. And so that data is not yet completely solid, but our best bet, or our best estimate and most hopeful estimate on my part, is that we would get that out next week. And just, again, keep paying attention, keep looking at your emails for those release emails to go out, and they will all have the big notification on them that it supports the rate case. And I think that's our last slide of content, because we want to get to questions as quickly as possible. But Brandon, you've got a couple more things to cover here.
Yeah, I just want to remind the audience that this is recorded. We will be posting it on our YouTube channel. It'll be posted on the landing page for the July 2026 rate case. There was a link that was dropped in the chat for that landing page in response to somebody's question, so please keep a lookout for that. We'll also be updating the page with our version of the digest to reflect this rate case. This was January's digest, just a screenshot of January's digest, just so you could have a reference for what it looks like. It will be updated with all of the July 2026 information. So please keep a lookout for that. We'll send an email out. We've been sending a lot of emails out to customers. We know that. We appreciate you guys being responsive and being appreciative of that. We're trying to just deliver as much communication as we can to everybody. So we do have a few questions. Some of them have been answered along the way. Just a little heads up, Susan would like the rates implemented in software sooner, pretty please.
I wish we could, Susan. It's the biggest one I've ever been a part of, for sure. And even starting it in February, people have been working full time, and those are the earliest dates that we can get. Actually, that's a good reminder to me that the HPM functionality to set everybody's expectations correctly, as that is a new function and feature of the post office, and so is going to be prioritized in a lower slot than the things that are absolutely required because they're currently supported by our software. And so HPM will be coming in the products that will support it very shortly after those initial releases, right? We're still working on getting estimates for that because we're still in full-on regulatory development mode. And as soon as those are done, we'll turn our attention to HPM, where that is going to be supported.
So Kendra has been, and as I believe Tammy as well, have been diligent about answering questions in the chat. Couple of questions. Will we be able to push mail.dat files after 7/12 with the old qualifications, or will they fail?
They will fail as of this morning. I talked to the post office about that in their customer acceptance testing call for Postal One. There's currently no plans to have anything upload or remap to the new postage statements. I did ask the post office for some clarification so that we can communicate that out for folks who are not able to transition at that date. And that's no matter what software, what internal processes you're using, I'd like to have them have a clear process to get mailing submitted if folks, for whatever reason, cannot get their mailing up to date on time. to submit those mailings. And so as soon as we have that, I'll communicate it through some channels here. And if it becomes something that you need to know as a result of our software, we'll communicate it to you as well.
Next question, will bundling be completely eliminated? Do we add loose mail pieces to the trays?
It depends on what mail class and preparation you're talking about. So there is one of the changes that is coming out is the elimination of bundling flats in flat tubs, right? So you're not eliminating bundling completely for flats, just when they're prepared in flat tubs that are the pre-sorted rates, right? So not carrier route. So everything below that, the USPS's goal is to eliminate some processing time of cutting open bundles, so they can just take those loose flats that are in those tubs and dump them into the sorting machines. That'll just decrease the amount of time they have to spend handling those, and that's what they're eliminating as a result of this set of changes. Everything else that had bundling is going to keep it, right? So you can still do bundles of flats on pallets, you can still do bundles in sacks, and you can still do, where letters are bundled and where packages that, packages as packages of flats are bundled. Those things all stick around.
Okay, next question. On automation flats, will bundling not be required at all?
Same answer as the last question, right? So where it was required before, except for bundles in tubs, right? So if you're using those flat tubs, they will not be allowed, let alone required. If you're bundling on pallets, obviously you're going to need to still have bundles there.
There's still concern regarding how tub mixed with sacks when forcing saturation will work with a new 50-piece minimum for tub bundles.
I'm not, if you can expand on that, we'll see what we can do about answering it. And if it's not something
Sean
we can
Lake.
answer here. Yeah, so Sean,
That was your
if
question.
you can expand on that a little bit in the chat there, we'll see what we can do about answering it. I'm not sure where your concern exactly lies, but we'll see what we can do. And if not here, we'll try to get it in a update to our FAQ.
It looks like Stephanie what will the surcharges? Will the surcharges be? We have AADC mail in the stream hitting after the 2-week deadline, or will those pieces not be accepted?
So it's going to depend again. If those are hitting prior to that July 27th date where they will accept those mailings and they've already been paid for prior to that 11th date, they will be just fine. Everything else you'll need to go through the post office to allow an exception for, as far as I know. I don't think they'll be refusing a ton of mail, but it might be a lot more cumbersome and it might be more expensive because I don't think that they will take the ADC mail as a price. That price doesn't exist anymore. So my guess would be that they drop it down to the mixed price.
And it looks like Matt asked a question, would failed uploads just be based on ADC levels used, question mark?
So it will depend on the sortation and a bunch of other factors. In general, yes. ADC rates will fail in Postal 1, NDC rates will fail in Postal 1, and anything using one of the now deprecated but still present mail.dat values that had mixed ADC or mixed NDC values that are no longer being used for the future mixed values, those will also fail because they just don't have mappings for postage statements anymore.
Kate Engel asked, can you touch a little bit on the new bundling rules for flats?
Yeah, we did a little bit of that already. So if there's specific things that we haven't touched on already, please feel free to ask additional clarifying questions there. But the additional things that are coming as a result of that is that those flat tubs that used to be bundled and no longer are will require you to have at least 50 pieces or a full tub, and that's to the bottom of the handhold is considered a full tub to be able to ship to that level. Excuse me. And there's a few other quirks of what's going on in there. And again, it does not apply to carrier route mail. Carrier route mail will still have the same bundling requirements that it had previously for those flat tubs and for sacks and pallets as well.
What lists should be used instead of L004 and L009?
Sure. So it depends, again, because it will depend on what sortation you're trying to get. The list itself are being replaced generically. We can say the sortation levels are being replaced by SCF, but it depends on where the mail is hitting, right? So if you're just doing a lookup, You should be probably looking at the SCF lists, which are different per shape. And if you're doing something based on the sortation, refer to the DMM for which label list is applicable to that sortation level. For letters for SCF, that's L005. For flats for SCF level, that's L051. Excuse me, I'm sorry, step back. For flats, L016, and for parcels, it's L051.
I appreciate the BCC people who are jumping in and answering some of these in chat. Makes it a little bit easier. Give me 1 second. I just want to see. Susie asked regarding the link for YouTube landing. Can you put that, Susie, check the chat. I'm sorry, Kate Piercy, can you check the chat for that? Susie asked, so is there a BCC update that will make changes in our pre-sorts for us?
It's going to depend on which pre-sort, right? Like we will do our best to map new things, new values where they come up. But in general, we don't know exactly what your intent with the mail is. And so we will update where we can. But if there exists a situation where we just don't think we can make an adequate decision automatically for you, you'll have to do the updates yourself. Right. So in general, right, like we're depending on the product, the values, the updates to the screens and the old mailings, we'll roll those forward as best we can. And if there's something like a parameter that allows you to stop sorting after an ADC level, we don't know where you want to put that new restriction, and so there's nothing we can do besides ask you and force you to update that job yourself.
Stephanie, I see your question. I'm going to skip to Sean real quick because he clarified. Sean Lake clarified, we commonly do marketing flat mailers for Thompson Creek windows. To get everything to the SCF rate, we force saturation on the sort. The result is sacks with bundles with remaining loose pieces getting put in the tubs. Some really bad lists can have 30 plus tubs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I guess I'm still not sure what the exact question is there, but it sounds like in my mind, not a ton should be changing in terms of that process. But if you were able to make bundles with some of that residual mail coming out in the tubs before, that would now not be happening. And your SCF sacks those will be the primary driver moving forward as well for those sortations.
Stephanie Bosley asked for bundling of flats when it says not carrier routes. Does this mean mailings that are saturation mailings to carrier routes do not get bundled in the tubs? Or would we still bundle the carrier route pieces going into tubs within a national mailing that may have some pockets of carrier route saturation?
Yeah, so if you're getting saturation rates, those rules for bundling will not be changing. What you're doing today will still apply.
Jeff Ray asked, leading up to the change date, will we be processing pre-sorting projects that mail both before and after 7/12? Will we be able to install 2 versions of BCC pre-sort, old and new, so that we can run whichever version is needed? We don't have the luxury of holding all post 7/12 projects until all pre 7/12 projects are finished.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably, the answer is yes. We do have some instructions about how you can go about doing that process that you mentioned there in terms of installing 2 versions. We've got a few recommendations. I think those are all documented in a KBA article that I'm sure Kendra is looking up very quickly, and if not, we can't get it to you before the end of this webinar. Then we'll definitely put it in our FAQ for you. Or you can go out to the portal and do a quick search and see if you can find it yourself. Take a shot at that, because we are trying to improve the self-serviceability of what those KBA articles are.
Kendra, how fast can you get that KB article link? Janelle Burkett asked, will heavy printed matter be a pre-sort scheme added to the marketing parcel pre-sort template?
I assume you are talking about BCC pre-sort, and the answer is most likely yes, but we have not fully done that design on that yet, so it could possibly change. My guess is that would be its own scheme.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Kendra's comments in the chat.
I saw
Joe Lewinsky
coming up.
Yeah. Joe Lewinsky asked, for edjob_ss, what is the chance that we can run this against our jobs for first class letters, periodicals, or standard A flats and not have to touch up the job files manually?
It's going to depend on how complex your job setup is. If all you are doing is there will definitely be some parameters that we cannot change for you, like I mentioned before. But at the end of the day, if your job is not very complex and was not using any of those ADC parameters, it could potentially run. You still want to check your output because I can't make a blanket statement based on what your mailings are doing, unfortunately. But more than likely, you'll have to do some looking and see what those parameters have done. Make sure that everything is coming out as you expect before submitting major mailings, of course.
Rick Wooten asked, if we pre-sort under the current pre-sort, will the MailDat software update our MailDats correctly? I asked this because we pre-sort for the entire month for our weekly mailings.
It will not, because the post pre-sort software is not a PAVE certified software, right? It does not pre-sort, and all of these pre-sort rules are changing, right? So those things will have to go back if you have run a full job for July already. Either you will have to enter and pay for those things prior to that 11th date and then get them into the post office, like we said, prior to that 27th date, or you will have to resort some of those.
There was a question regarding processing prior to 7/12 and uploading to WindowBook. Will WindowBook make these changes to the pre-sort? And the answer was no. Rosie chimed in there.
Yep, and that's the same answer to that last question, right? Like that, because it is a major change to the pre-sort rules and label list changes, those sortations are no longer valid after that 12th date. It's not important, or it's not impossible that the post office could grant exceptions, but we don't have a blanket exception for that, and that would ultimately be up to the mailer and the post office and whether or not they would grant the exceptions.
Stephanie asked regarding currently running a pre-sort automation from our server. Do we have options to have 2 versions installed? I believe that's a yes, right?
It should be, but again, check out that KBA article that Kendra is frantically looking up.
I don't see it linked yet, Kendra. You're slipping.
I saw her picking on me in the chat, so I'm not going to stop either.
Stephanie also asked, when will the update be ready for Redpoint/Ignite? She said, sorry if this has already been answered, but I don't think it has been.
No, it hasn't, and that's because it's somewhat different, and it's based on the pre-sort release, because the changes for Redpoint and Ignite will be based exclusively on how it processes pre-sort jobs. Because that is now being finalized and it has been delivered to that team, they will begin working on it as soon as possible, and we will shoot to get it out as soon as possible as well, because that is a team that is also working on some other rate case changes. We don't have a solid date for that one yet, but we will get it as soon as we can.
Sorry, I'm answering Kendra.
Yeah, Stephanie, if that was the question about Ignite, it's possible that it's that week. Like I said, I'm guessing at this point. I don't have solid answers for you, and we'll put something in the FAQ as soon as we've got a good answer for you.
I think we've answered everybody's questions. I'll do a last roll call.
We will do our best, Stephanie. I will be asking them very soon what we can get. So,
but not later, please. No. Sean just clarified those 30+ tubs I mentioned could have as little as 1 piece. Will those get the SCF discount rate or just the standard saturation rate?
So those will get. It will depend. That shouldn't be any different than what you're doing today. If they are a tub that goes to an Origin SCF facility, for that Origin SCF facility, they have no minimum. If they are loose pieces that would have been residual and included in the Origin SCF level previously, then it's very likely they will no longer be in those individual tubs like that. But it depends on your setup and your sortation. So I'm generalizing. Hopefully those are useful answers, but you'll have to run it through the software to see.
I believe we answered all the questions, but Adam made a great point earlier, which is that our customer service portal, for those of you who are not regularly active on there, it is a wealth of knowledge. Kendra and her team try really hard. I was going to say we, but I have nothing to do with it. Kendra and her team try really hard to maintain all of those articles, keep them up to date, and a lot of them are very, very valuable resources for common situations regarding installing multiple versions of software, etc. So please go out to the customer service portal if you haven't already. Look through those knowledge-based articles. There's a lot of information there. Mark Campbell just asked, oh, thanks, Susan. We appreciate that. Mark Campbell just asked, will IMPB COM barcode and matrix be required on all BPM heavy printed matter going forward?
Yes. So if you look back at those slides when they're posted for the requirements for heavy printed matter for the basic qualification requirements, that M that calls out it needing an IMPB also calls out it needing an IMMB for that matrix barcode. So both of those will have to be there.
All right. Thank you everybody for your time. Just a reminder, the recording and the published Q&A will go out next week. It will be added to the rate case landing page that was linked earlier. And then we'll also send an email out to everybody just so you have awareness of it. Kendra will also post in the portal, the user form, etc. So we're trying to provide as much information out there for everybody as possible. Any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're available anytime. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.